Welcome to this short demonstration video prepared by Nobius and Invicta to show the integration between Zabbix open source IT monitoring software and Invicta Desk Help Desk.
Hello everyone, welcome to this demo. We're pretty excited to bring you the opportunity of looking at a deeper integration between a great monitoring open source tool, Zabbix, and Invicta Desk, which is a help desk / service desk. The great thing about this integration and taking it a step forward from many other service desk, help desk systems is essentially the capability for an analyst who is usually working in the context of a help desk trying to resolve a multitude of issues coming from various locations, that the analyst doesn't go all over the place trying to sort out what the challenges are. Towards that end, Invicta focused on ITSM per se and trying to look at the holistic landscape. We found that there is a big advantage if the analyst can actually do a few of the monitoring resolution tasks from within Invicta Desk. At the moment, I've got the console open. I'm logged in as an administrator on the system. Obviously, I can see many other things. I can get many other settings over here. But let's deep dive directly into the capability of actually creating an incident. So in the background, what I'm doing is I've just created an incident which essentially has allowed Zabbix to monitor a website and record if the website is not performing based on our predetermined credentials and the predetermined criteria. Based on that, it's monitoring our system and trying to create a simulation for us. Obviously, as the system triggers in, Zabbix has its internal scan times. It'll do a scan on it. And once it has done a scan, it'll come back and say we got a problem. And you can see within the Zabbix console that we got an issue logged. Switching over to the Invicta side, we should soon see once Invicta scans those events from Zabbix that it should be able to pick something up. And there we go. We got a new ticket that's been logged, tracking what happened in Zabbix, coming over to the help desk. Opening the ticket itself, we see there are the anatomy of a ticket basically. Right at the top, we got an audit trail to tell us what's been happening with the ticket. And the smart thing that Invicta and Zabbix integration were able to do was to identify not only that a ticket could get logged with the details of the ticket, that we could also establish if the asset has been defined correctly within Zabbix, that Invicta was able to tell us that this is the asset against which the issue has happened. Many organizations might want to refer to that as a CI in a full-blown service desk system. Within the context of Invicta Desk, it's more flexible, let's say, from the point of view of defining what it does. Once the asset is selected, of course, there are several other assets available in the system. Invicta does synchronize the list of assets from Zabbix on a pre-configured time. Generally, organization will set it for 24 hours, which is what the settings are here, which means if any asset is added into Zabbix, Invicta will periodically pick that up and populate its list of assets as well. Based on that, it's essentially a pointer to what Zabbix has got, and the advantage being we don't want to duplicate information in the system, keep a DRY kind of environment. So we just keep a pointer, but we can actually invoke many capabilities as we go along with this. If you notice, we got an icon here, which is essentially saying that there is something that I can do with this asset once it's selected. If I select that, this is where the deep dive of the APIs is demonstrated. We've actually, from within Invicta Desk, made a live call via the API to Zabbix and brought back some pieces of information. We came back with a problem list, which is the essence being once an incident has been logged in Zabbix, there is a capability for an analyst to acknowledge that event, to say, yes, I know there's something wrong, I'm working on it. And most of the time when something like this would happen, an analyst would scurry over and rush around with the monitoring system to try and trace down which of these caused the problem. But from within the console, the advantage being that if you have any of those acknowledgements to be done, you can already see the context of the ticket, what kind of issue happened, that there was a website problem, and that if you know that there is a website issue that you're aware of because of various reasons, you just want to say, yes, I'm working on it. You can actually acknowledge that from within Invicta Desk. Now, what this has again done is done a live call to Zabbix. It has said, okay, I've acknowledged this event successfully in Zabbix. So if a Zabbix administrator is looking on the other side, they know that an analyst has already started working on it and the ticket is in hand. From here on, what essentially has happened is Invicta has also made a record that against this incident ID, which is we got an ID to trace back if you want to trace through the two systems, that we did successfully acknowledge it from within Invicta Desk. It's a great advantage if you're on a shift, you're logging off at 2 o'clock and somebody else comes and picks it up. They're at least aware that somebody has already tracked it and they started to work on the ticket. and there has been some progress available with it. From here on, actually, is where the power for Invicta comes in and sets in. Not only has the analyst been able to acknowledge the event very, very quickly, respond, and make sure that some progression has happened on the ticket, but if they think this is a ticket that needs some advanced capabilities, they can actually initiate a workflow from within the ticket itself. Use cases being there is a requirement for, let's say, expansion of hard disks. You need to spend X amount of money. You need somebody internally to give you an approval. You want the networks team to acknowledge it. You can actually just fire up a workflow from within Invicta, put the ticket into the status of saying, yeah, we're working on it, and go ahead and update the ticket. What this would then do is that it'll actually trigger off an approval status from within the Invicta desk, and it is assigned it to the people who you got set up in the predefined workflows. And once they approve it, you can actually then continue to progress the ticket, which essentially is a major advantage, because what you couldn't do from within a monitoring system, the core responsibility for a monitoring system to be monitoring and not do this kind of ticket progression, you can actually now use a very tightly integrated or a tightly coupled tool to do some of those tasks which can enhance what you're doing with actually a monitoring tool. Good progress on this. I wouldn't get into the anatomy of a ticket, but obviously you could change the priorities as well if you found that this was an incident that had a wider impact and not just the predefined definition of a group, but it was actually impacting all users. You could switch those, and your SLA would also modify on the ticket. It would switch the priority. And if you say this is really a P1 for you, you might just want to switch it and say this is a P1 incident. And once you log that, the progression of the ticket or the paths will follow the processes as you've defined in your organization, rather than being preset with something that you're stuck on. A very, very powerful capability. Apart from that, if you think not only that, you would like to escalate it to, maybe a group of other users from within, let's say it's a telecommunication issue, you can actually escalate to an L1, L2, L3 based on whatever settings you have within Invicta. And that will go ahead and again follow the processes internally of what you're trying to do within the organization. Having gone through at least capabilities of logging a ticket, I think the next piece which is important to the chain is to understand how can we close a call, and are there any manual processes in this, or is it something that is again seamless between the two systems? Which is also something we have thought about carefully. As the next versions come out, more power will be added. In the current release, what we're doing is, and what we're going to demonstrate is that once the alert has gone away, and many times these kind of alerts do come in, UPS power will turn out to say amperage is out for a period of 45 minutes, and then it's come back in the middle of the night. And when you come in the morning, you might see a bunch of tickets, from various systems sitting on your desk, which you need to then physically look at and close. But obviously you don't need to, because if there was just a blip in something, one of your, let's say, internet connections didn't ping response in a period that you wanted, but it did come back in a few seconds, you would like to acknowledge that as a service having been resolved internally and being logged within your service desk. But obviously you don't want to go back and close hundreds of them unnecessarily. And Invicta can then pick up this ticket. And the advantage is I've just turned the website content is what we're monitoring. I've just turned it on to say everything is good. Let's go back and have a quick look. We can now see within Zabbix that red alert has gone away, and Sync seems to be happy. It should have generated an alert, and we should see that alert coming back. And within the Invicta desk, we should actually probably see that the ticket has gone away. Now, the ticket has vanished from the dashboard, but obviously the reason of the dashboard is only telling us to focus on open tickets rather than the closed and the resolved ones. So if you go back and have a look, we should hopefully find our resolved or the closed tickets very much at the top. If you look at the ticket here, this is exactly what we're working on. We just acknowledged it. And right at the top, we can see this changes the status to closed, because the problem has been resolved, and we got the resolution timestamp from within the desk as well. Essentially, that's the quick workflow of the capability between both the systems. And if you've noticed, apart from going to Zabbix to just verify and demonstrate that, yes, something came in and something went off, from an analyst point of view, you really don't need to lose context on the capability of the area that you're working in, because you really need to keep on top of your issue rather than struggle with the systems and the technology. Tools are lesser. They just give you the capability to probably improve what you're doing. But essentially, if you can remain within the area of your core operation, it definitely improves the productivity far more. I've got my colleague David here from Nobius. great partner for Zabbix. With Invicta, we've decided to go with Nobius to help us bring this kind of capabilities to the market to help us improve the ITSM. So quick question to David. Dave, would you like to add anything on the Zabbix side? Or I think we've covered the area.
You covered it pretty well there, Rajnish. Thank you very much. Zabbix as an enterprise monitoring tool is entirely open source. There are no licensing costs associated with it. In terms of popularity, there are around 300,000 global implementations, installations of Zabbix. It's actively developed by a company called Zabbix, SIA, and it's probably the most enterprise-ready monitoring solution that you'll get outside of the big four players. So integrating between alert management and event detection and data collection and into ITSM processes is a key functionality. And Nobius is really pleased, really proud with working with Invicta to bring this integration to life. And there's a great future for enhancements coming up as well. So I'll leave that thought with you and back to Rajnish.
Thank you very much, Dave. So that's it for today. Happy to take any questions. Please feel free to drop us a line to our website, either from Nobius or from invictasoftware.com, and we'll be pleased to run you through a deeper dive into both the systems.